We are 53 episodes down, and we got another great show for you all today. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 54 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy, and I thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, wherever it may be. You can find this podcast. I hope you can do so as well. We're also on Spreaker as well, so if you haven't already, follow me on there as well. You're up to date with everything going on as well. Also, side note, if you have not already and you would like one, t-shirts are now on sale. Yes, the t-shirts are on sale. The ones that you keep seeing on my social media page and the ones that you saw back on episode 50 with Tony Caridi and Brad Howe, those are now on sale. They're for $25. Just send me a message on Twitter, or you can find me on Facebook just by simply looking up Taylor Kennedy. Send me a friend request. Hey, we're there. That's how I got into contact with our guest today. And let's dive right into our guest today. And I'm excited, actually, because here's why. He doesn't know this, or I think he does, but I think I told him. I don't remember. But anyway, when we first talked, I told him that I remember growing up in the South Hills area, about 5 minutes outside over in North Charleston. And I grew up watching, my guest and a lot of the other guys that eventually went on to win the Class AAA state championship game in basketball at George Washington High School. And I'm excited to have him on. Let's go through a little bit of a background, so to speak. So you guys know me. I love doing backgrounds, and this is a great background as well. My guest this afternoon, this evening, or this morning, however you may be listening to this podcast, played at George Washington from 2009 until 2013. As I said, he helped lead George Washington to the 2011 Class AAA state championship game. He was a two-time first-team All-State honoree. Yeah, not one, but two. He averaged 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Yes, as a senior. My guess is a hooper, needless to say. He was named the 2013 Mountain State Athletic Conference Player of the Year. And on his career at the free throw line, as they call it, the charity stripe, as the old timers like to call it, shot 86%. No big deal. No big deal at all. But wait, there's more. He went on to play collegiate basketball at the University of Elon from 2013 until 2017. And you think that his career at George Washington was good. He said, okay, I can do that, but more. He finished his career as one of arguably the best passers, according to Elon's website, in school history. He finished his career with 296 career assists, which ranks 8th in program history. So a high honor for my guest. And also one of his best seasons, like I told you, his senior season, unbelievable. He had a great season in 2015 and 16 as well. Averaged 11 points, dished out 144 assists. So doing a little bit of a John Stockton, Magic Johnson. We'll get into that as well. But that alone, those 144 assists, ranked 10th all time in single season history at Elon. So I don't know if I can go anymore because this just keeps going on and on and on and on. And let's just go right into it, folks. I mean, I'm excited. Please welcome my guest for episode 54 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. My guest, Mr. Luke Eddy. Luke, welcome to the program.
Appreciate it, and I enjoyed that rundown. Made me feel like I could jump again. I'm feeling young. Appreciate you having me.
Now, don't say that, because if you say that, you'll make me feel old. So, okay, I gotta ask now. Since you brought it up, how old are you?
27.
You serious? Now you're making me feel old. Because you know why? I just told you in the beginning, I used to watch you growing up, and now you're saying you're 27. I'm 21. I'm like, oh my gosh. Mom, Dad, if you're listening to this, please turn it off now because it's going to get worse from here. But anyways, Luke, thanks for joining us, and let's go right into this. And just to give the folks a little bit of an understanding of what we're going to be going over, like I told you, Luke had a historic collegiate and prep career as well. So we're going to go all over the place with that. We're going to talk about the 2011 state championship team, the guys that he played with, playing for Rick Green, and also his career at Elon. And then also we'll just sort of get a feeling of what he's up to nowadays. He's down in a place that I wish I was at right now, quite frankly, just because it's the middle of summer and I would love to be there right now. So we'll get into that later on in the show. But Luke, let's just dive right in. I'm gonna start you off right here, right now with a softball pitch. All right.
Perfect.
When you look back at your career at George Washington, what were some of the best times while playing for the Patriots?
I mean, it starts young, just ninth grade, the competition every day in practice. I roll in there and there's I mean, in my grade just alone, Ryan Switzer, one of the hardest working athletes West Virginia's ever seen. Dustin Krauser, one of the biggest, strongest guys we see. Thomas Frankie, Santino DiTrapano, all those guys that I grew up playing with my whole life. We transfer, and all of a sudden, I'm playing for George Washington, who I have watched all the greats: Chris Long, Chase Smith, my teammate Tyquan Gord, tons, Patrick O'Malley. You can go down the list at George Washington. But I want to say the best time is literally just wearing that jersey that I grew up. I can't say this. I did dream about playing for Elon, but I didn't dream about playing for Elon in first grade. So sorry, I got a call there. But like I said, I didn't grow up dreaming to play for Elon in first grade, but ever since my dad grabbed me out of school in kindergarten, took me to the state high school basketball tournament, I always knew that I wanted to play for George Washington. And finally getting there, just wearing that jersey night in, night out, and being able to represent them to the best of my ability. And watching my little brother see me, my whole family, all my friends, see how hard I've worked that whole time. It's just a good feeling when I look back, and especially when you read those senior season stats. Makes it feel like all that time I put in the gym was worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, I would feel very hypocritical if I didn't mention this guy's name, because he's also a very influential person up in the South Hills area in Charleston. That's Ron Cobb. And when we spoke off the air, you had mentioned that you had played shy ball as well, as did I. Now, did you always imagine playing for George Washington, since shy ball is primarily played at George Washington, or was that just a thing where, okay, I feel like my best place to go and continue my basketball career is there?
100%. Shy ball had a huge influence on it. You're wearing the hill on your jersey. I was in kindergarten or first grade wearing the hill on my jersey for the third grade all-star team. But I was just actually talking to my cousin who lives down here. We were talking about shy ball the other day, and we think that Ron Cobb, or that organization, just shy ball, is one of the best run just kid or activities or organizations. It's tough to beat how well organized and constructed in all these years that's been going on. And I still have memories of playing shy ball, or playing John Elmore, playing with Ott. We were actually all on the same shy ball team, believe it or not. So we went on a run, I think from first to fifth grade, I think undefeated, won every single title. Gay showed no mercy. Back then there was no inside the 3-point line at 25 points. So we were pressing the majority of the game.
Okay, so I'm gonna test your knowledge real quick. We'll see how sharp you are for a 27-year-old. Give me your roster that you guys have with you, John, and Odd. Just give me a couple of other guys outside of the three of you.
All right, this is a good one. We had Cody Clay, the tight end for the Mountaineers. Not much of a, hopefully he doesn't take me out of this, not much of a basketball player, but he's a big body in fourth or fifth grade. Will Lawrenson, was a big with me at GW. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Eric Aloise, still one of my buddies to this day, played football GW, now lives in Charlotte. Who else do we had? We had Keegan Ritchie, who grew up playing with us. I think he might have won a state championship at Charleston Catholic. And then the only one else I can remember is Robert Thomas. He was a track athlete. So eight athletes on that team. And like I said, in first grade, Ott was in second, John was in kindergarten. I believe that's when we started our run as the dominant team back in shy ball.
Now, was Gay Elmore your coach, or who was your guys' coach?
Yes, Gay Elmore was our coach. He taught me how to pivot. That's all I remember. I think he picked me up when I was in kindergarten and I was in preschool. We started shy ball. So Gay was my coach all the way up until about 8th grade.
How about that? You just listed off so many different guys just like that. And just listening to those, you just mentioned a couple of their different career paths. You guys had a tight end on your team. At a young age, you're probably just like, that kid could probably go play football. Well, he's playing basketball now. Well, he can still play football. So that's just you mentioned it earlier. I think that's the beauty of shy ball. since you mentioned it as well, looking back whenever I played as well, because I played there as well, just looking back on that, you're just like, you played with a lot of like Division I and Division II athletes at the time. You're just like, okay, yeah, they're okay, but now they're just like, now you're like sitting back in the stands and you're just like seeing like the next closest person to you. You're like, I played with him in elementary school. Don't worry, he wasn't that good. I can beat him. Now you're just like, he can hoop.
I have myself saying that a lot about John and Swiss these days. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So let's go back from elementary school back to the high school now. And you had mentioned that going into your 9th grade year, you really wanted to play for George Washington. Just what about it intrigued you? I know that you mentioned, growing up, you had the hill in your jersey, played in shy ball, but were there any other factors that just really intrigued you in playing for Coach Rick Green at GW?
Certainly. I mean, first of all, he's a great guy. Even before I've spent my 4 years playing for him and a great friendship ever since. He's really dedicated to shy ball. He's always around. Not only was shy ball at George Washington, but they also, I don't know if they still do, but they used to hold the AAU state tournaments at George Washington as well. He's always around those events. His wife makes great chili in the concession stand. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go up to Coach Green with $0 in my pocket and ask for one of those. But I mean, besides, like I said, he's a great guy, but just the relevance that George Washington had, but they hadn't really gone over the hump until that 2011 season. And ever since kindergarten, first grade, my dad had always got me out of school for that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I've got to go down and watch all of the AAA just state tournament games in general, the 11-15s and the 7-15s at night. So I just remember that growing up and how much I wanted to play specifically for George Washington, for Coach Green, and eventually lead a team to a title.
So walk myself and the audience through this. First practice, your initial thought was what?
I need to grow somehow, some way. Because that's a big jump. You go from a middle school team, I think my 7th and 8th grade year, undefeated, no losses, county champions. Now you're playing against the whole state. And not only the whole state, there's transfers from other schools coming into George Washington. So I remember Coach Green texted me. He was like, you can be on the varsity team with your talent now, but if you want to play, you're going to have to get stronger. And at that time, there was a big thing like, don't lift too early, stunt your growth, all that. I don't know the facts behind it, but he just said, stick to pull-ups, sit-ups, and push-ups. So that's what I did every day. And he texted me a lot during the summer and be like, did you do your push-ups today? Did you do your push-ups today? And I'd say about 95% of the time I did them, but even if I didn't, I'd still hit them with the yes, sir. So, I mean, he made sure I worked, and I think he believed that I put in the work ethic. So, and it did work. So that's how it is.
Do you think that early, that early continuous pressure just to continue to get better each and every day, do you think that helped mold your game and just helped you just understand that if I want to go on to play collegiate basketball, I need to do these little things to help me continue to go forward in my journey?
Certainly. I would say not until college did I realize how much the little things, the extra stretching, the extra weight room work that I actually need to compete at that level. But in high school, I think that's what really propelled me, especially junior and senior year, to be so successful, is all the little things that I did building up for those moments.
So let's just go right to it. I mean, let's just get rid of the elephant in the room now, and let's just go right to that 2011 team, because that was a great team to watch. I mean, you mentioned a couple of guys, you, the Trapano, Ryan Switzer, and Taekwon Gord as well. You four, that was pretty much the core of you all with that team. But when you look back on that team, and especially during the duration of the season leading into postseason play, was there a specific point in that season or before the season? When was there a point where you just knew, okay, we got something going here and we need to keep this core group together, because if not, it could easily slip away from our hands?
Yeah, definitely. I knew we had a monster. I think we're playing either Sissonville or Winfield, and a kid from Winfield goes around me. I go for a steal. He goes around me, goes in for a layup, and then you just see Taekwon Gord back there basically catches the kid's shot and throws it up for me an outlet. I go to the basket, drive, missed that as well, but Taekwon's there to dunk it back in. So having him as a rim protector and just an offensive rebounding, just absolute, I guess, animals, how you describe them, to collect. I don't know, Tino, Dare Bear, Darian Williams was on the squad, Nick Britton. So just having that force in the middle, I knew we were going to be wrecking ball to work with in West Virginia.
I find that very fascinating just because looking back on Taekwon Gord, and especially the way that he played, in my mind, I think he was a year or two away just from being the guy, if that makes sense, just because, especially with football, this is a very common trend with football, and that is players play before their time, if that makes sense, because, you look at Gord, and Gord was a rim protector. He could go out and shoot a mid-range, and then he could occasionally step back for a three, and that was especially in college, but, his game was just so unique and it was just so flawless at some points. I mean, what was it like playing with him?
It was great because one thing on defense, you had a rim protector. Like you said, he blocked shots. Not only would he block shots, he'd also take charges. So a big man that takes charges is a little guard's worst nightmare. And then also he could also guard bigger guards like Perrier Henry. So like I would be able to get off that assignment every now and then in the game because Taekwon could go guard him for a little bit. And then on offense, it's nice to just be able to drive to the basket. And I don't encourage anybody to be in no man's land, but everybody jumps up the air and doesn't know what they're going to do. And if you can just float it up there near the basket and have somebody to flush it down for 2 points, especially in high school basketball, that's a rarity. So
now I got a bone to pick with you now because you just mentioned that, but you also, before that, you mentioned Winfield. Now, I don't know if I told you this, but I am a Winfield grad. So, but that's just how it is. I mean, that's how it is. If you got a guy like Taekwon Gord, it's like, for example, it's like Sagaba Konate at WVU whenever they played Kansas a few years back, and he just absolutely just went up and got the ball with two hands. I mean, yeah.
I recall that. That was impressive.
That was
very impressive.
Now, whenever you saw Sagaba Konate do that, did you just think in your head, okay, I saw this a few years back, but a guy in high school, and I played with him by a guy of Taekwon Gord. Did that run through your head?
It's definitely flashbacks. Taekwon, don't take this personally, but what Konate did was I've never seen that before in basketball. So he might one up him there, but pretty close, similar. I'll give him that.
Now, did Taekwon ever spot one of your shots in practice, or were you more of a, okay, I'm gonna do like a little quick dribble, pull back, and then we'll try and see?
I'm sure he's swatted too many to even recall, but I do know he is the one individual that has dunked on me the worst. We were playing pickup down at UC with all the college guys, and it's a 2-on-1 fast break game point. I'm the only one guy there, so I got to go for it. Next thing you know, Taekwon takes it out of the air and just boom, I'm laying on my back. So I do recall that one, and he'll recall that one because he still talks about it today.
That's awesome. Well, not awesome for you, but awesome for him.
It happens. At least there wasn't anybody in the stands and no social media yet.
That's a very solid point. Now, let me ask you this. If social media was around, do you think that would have been on World Star?
That or Ball is Life, something of that nature. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you guys played through a lot of great competition that 2011 season, especially the Ripleys of the world. Whenever they had Chase Fisher, you mentioned South Charleston with Perrier Henry as well. And we can't forget about Parkersburg South as well. Just at the complexity of what high school basketball looked like in the early 2010s, for people that don't know or don't really remember, can you sort of jog people's memory back to what it was like just playing high school basketball in the state of West Virginia during that time, especially the year you guys won the state championship?
First, of course, the first name that rings a bell when we go back is because he was our rival, Perrier Henry. He's one of the most gifted athletes, skilled basketball player, type of guy that could dominate a game and he would score 9 points. And he's still hooping to this day, making some pretty large checks overseas. So that just speaks to his skill level. He's made it to the summer league, and great guy as well. Then you mentioned Chase Fisher, could shoot the lights out, went to Wake Forest in his career at BYU. Great family, great kid. And like I mentioned these names, and we all traveled together. So they were on the 17U Wildcats, and there was the 16U Wildcats, and I was down on the 15U. But any tournament they played in, I would be there. I would be watching them on the national stage. And those were guys that like we'd see come by, and Roy Williams, Coach K would be courtside watching their games. And that's just people that you look up to, and you're like, man, I want that to be me. So, and then of course, me being 15 years old, all practicing in the same gym when Perry would pick me up full court. Doesn't get much better competition than that anywhere in the world. So
now I think this is a great story, just because that state championship game that you guys had against Wheeling Park, you guys won 55-54. Now, I vaguely remember this, but if you can correct me if I'm wrong, was there not a game-winning shot by none other than fill in the blank?
Bubby Goodwin?
Yes, that's who it was.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He, so I mean, take it how you want it, but his foot was on the line. So it's a 2-pointer. He actually got the ball in the corner with Taekwon on him and like pump faked and like did a step around and threw it up and cashed it. And with like time expired, and then the refs went back to the replay and his foot was on the line. So it's a 2-pointer, and there you go. We're state champions.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that was allowed. Didn't know it was a thing, but I mean, I'll take it.
Oh my goodness. Well, so walk me through this, just because I always feel like during a game, a coach is always going to be in your ear, but especially with a guy that's been in this situation before numerous times, and Coach Rick Green, what was sort of his main message throughout the game, just to you all, just trying to keep you guys at ease?
I mean, he's an unbelievable high school coach. Arguably would be just as good at the college level. I mean, I don't see him leaving GW, but he could, in my opinion. But he just, I think the best thing about Coach Green is he holds each player accountable. So if you're supposed to grab that rebound, he's going to know you're going to supposed to grab that rebound. If I'm supposed to make 4 3-pointers, he's going to tell me you're 0 for 6. So he builds up your respect. And then once he has your respect, I think that's when he starts coaching you. And he doesn't coach to grade, he coaches to win. Via why he's been so successful, just won another state championship this year. I mean, I know I'm probably his biggest fan, very biased. Everything that man says in my mind is gold. So, I mean, during that game, I don't remember specifics, but I do remember this, which kind of, it's nothing to brag about or anything, but I do know if they were going to put time back on the clock for a game-winning shot, the ball was going to me as a sophomore, which is pretty good, and I would have made it. So, just throwing that out there.
Of course, no questions asked. So, as I said, you guys win that game, 55-54 over Wheeling Park, and we've been talking about this team so far. We've mentioned Taekwon Gord, and we've mentioned a couple other guys along the way as well. But I want to talk about an individual that you mentioned earlier as well, and I want to bring back to now. Ryan Switzer, in my mind, is one of the biggest what-ifs for West Virginia University athletics, just because he was a guy that could definitely have been very, very successful at WVU, went on to be very successful at North Carolina. We all saw that unfold. But you were one of the people that were able to witness his game firsthand from a basketball standpoint, but also on Friday nights, just either rooting for him or just whatever your role was with that. Sort of describe Ryan Switzer. Well, let me rephrase that. Describe high school Ryan Switzer.
The hardest working athlete possible. School ends at 3:00. He's in the weight room at 2:59. Kid just worked. He ate healthy. Great kid, great community guy. As you can see now, he's giving back. He's been one of my best friends my entire life. Still keep in touch with him today. He's on the Browns, looking to make the roster this year. Everybody knew him, no matter where he went. Like I said, if Facebook and social media was big then, I can only imagine what kind of money he'd be bringing in as a college athlete these days. So just from Charleston alone. But he worked for it. You can't, and he went for it, and he always worked for it. So if you knock him, you can't knock him for those two things. That's for sure.
I'm happy you brought up the fact that college athletes are getting paid nowadays, and I'm very glad. And here's why. I want to get your opinion on this. So picture this right now. A company approaches you and they're like, okay, we want to give you X amount of dollars for you to brand our company, advertise our company, just sort of work with us to a certain extent. What would be the ideal company that you would want that to be?
It depends on the paycheck, but
that's a good point.
I would definitely go for like a food place somewhere with like good chicken wings, maybe a couple happy hour specials. I can walk in there, a local Elon bar, something like that. Just something small, something local where just like my friends, my fan base, my family, I know I can take them there and we're set.
So here, this is the beauty of a podcast. You can do this whenever you want to, but I got you like a little advertisement right in my head. You ready for this? You'll love this. I know you will. So give me a, let's do this. This is like ad libs almost. What's a place, like a bar you said? What's a bar that you have really good chicken wings?
In Florida or back at Elon?
Elon.
The Fat Frog Bar and Grill.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Ready for this? For you, it'd be like this. If I were writing a script for you for an advertisement, I'd say something like this. Hi, I'm Luke Eddy, and I forget. I'm bad with my memory. But hi, I'm Luke Eddy, and welcome to this bar and grill, home of the best chicken wings ever. You take a big bite out of the chicken wing, and then you push a plate, and you said, I'll even dish it out myself because, like I said, 144 assists.
That's smooth.
You're 15, 16 years. You're dishing it out. There you go.
That's smooth.
See, if this would have happened a few years back, I think we would have gotten something here. I'm just saying.
My jersey is hanging up in that bar, but I don't know if I'd get anything free if I rolled back through.
Now, did you hang that jersey up yourself, or did somebody else hang it up for you?
No, the owner was a big basketball guy, so he took care of me.
I gotcha. Well, we brought up Elon. Let's just go right into Elon, and we'll sort of touch on your prep career here in a few minutes. But how did Elon come onto the scene for you? I know that you had a couple other schools in mind prior to Elon, but how did Elon sort of sweep you off your feet?
Sure. The main reason is I haven't mentioned this name yet, but Chris Long, who was another GW great, brother James Long. I know you've had him on the podcast before. Those are family friends of mine since my dad and him are friends, but just basketball in general in the area of Charleston. I've been around the Longs my whole life. So when he went there, that's when I first heard of Elon. So I remember I watched Elon play like Virginia Tech. I watched him play Steph Curry in the SoCon championship game. And then right before my senior year, junior year, summer, going into senior year, they actually brought Chris on as a director of basketball operations. And when that happened, the recruiting definitely picked up. My interest in the school definitely picked up. And then early on in my senior year, I only had that time, I think 2, possibly 3 offers at the time, but a lot of interest coming from schools all over the place, but complete Division I offers, plenty of schools in conference in West Virginia and stuff that I was looking seriously into, great schools. But once that scholarship offer, Scott called me the father, and was like, "Hey, you're gonna get some good news." I was actually at my trigonometry tutors getting tutored when Scott called me, and I was like, "I think I'm gonna want to pick this up." Like, sorry. He was like, "Hey, you're gonna have some great news." Then 2 seconds later, the head coach called. And I'd already visited the school at that point 4 or 5 times. And I said right there on the spot, told him yes. Trigonometry tutor looked at me. He's like, well, she's like, "I don't think you need me anymore, do you?" And I was like, "Oh, probably not." hopped in my old Jeep, went home, texted Dustin and Ryan, told them. They put it on social media. Next thing you know, the newspapers are calling me before I even told my mom and dad. So that's how that story kind of went down.
That's pretty much like social media before social media actually exploded, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Word travels fast, that's for sure.
Especially in Charleston. That is a proven fact.
Mm-hmm. It was Rich Stevens gave me the phone call that Thursday night. And then Friday night, when I went to watch Switch at a football game, I was getting congratulated left and right. So
you mentioned that you had a few other offers from other highly known colleges / universities. Who were those other schools in the mix?
Well, the main school I was kind of looking at was Stetson. I've always liked Florida. I wanted to get down here. Now West Virginia Tides are at Stetson, Adam Williams, Danny Jones, but at that time they weren't. That was really high on my list. I always wanted to go to Davidson. I thought I was Steph Curry, but no official offer from Davidson, unfortunately. But a good tie with that is my head coach at Elon was the assistant under that Elite Eight run with Davidson. So I was very confident, and I like to play a style because, that's who every kid tries to be.
Your memory is sharp as a knife, it seems like. You've been away from the game for a few years now, especially at the prep level, and you're just throwing names out. This is great. You just mentioned you just mentioned the Stetson connection, and I'm just like, because I thought that in my head, I'm like, I wonder if he's going to bring up Adam Williams, friend of the program as well, but also Donnie Jones as well. Dude, you're just like left and right.
I keep track of my West Virginia guys, and I wish them as much luck as possible. But if you could refresh my memory, how many points did I average my senior year of high school again?
27 points.
All right, perfect. My little brother's coming to town this weekend, so I need to make sure that I run that by him when he gets here.
26, but I was off by a point.
27. Still, I probably took it light a couple games here or there.
Oh goodness, that's funny. Well, I love this story about you getting with the Phoenix in general with Elon. I think that's a great story, but also, just moving. You talked about the transition from middle school to high school. Now let's talk about the transition from high school to college. You mentioned a little bit, but I want to get a much broader perspective on that, especially for the audience that listens, because we got a couple of people in high school that are wanting to play collegiate basketball. Some that listen to this program actually are going into college to play basketball. Walk me through this. How important is the attention to detail aspect of college basketball compared to high school basketball?
Well, one, pointing out the obvious, everybody in college basketball, D2, D1, doesn't matter. They can all hoop. Pointing out the obvious. You're not going to get the so-called guy or something that you might play against high school who's strictly out there to rebound or strictly out there for defense or something like that. They could all hoop. So if you don't bring your A game every single night, somebody has the potential to give you 30 points. So just the detail really comes from the weight room, what you eat, and then scouting. The X's and O's of basketball doesn't really change. Like if you can shoot foul shots in high school, you can make foul shots in college. You can shoot a 3-pointer. It might be a little different driving to the basket just because the kids are stronger, faster, bigger. But I would say the difference is really in the film room, just picking up little things like Maybe I know a place where I tended to get a lot of my steals were just happened to be on sideline out of bounds. I knew that other teams were lazy there, so I would maybe go for a steal here or there. But weight room, film room were two of my biggest, and bigger crowds. I like that, but I kind of fed off that, bigger crowds. But those are probably the biggest differences that you'll see. More scrutiny too, because there's a lot more people giving their money to college programs. So if you screw up, you'll be hearing it.
Very solid point. So we mentioned the attention to detail aspect of it, but I think this is also a very encouraging part of your story as well, and that is you adapted to a completely new role, my man. I mean, you went from averaging 26 points your senior year of high school to just sort of being more of a distributor. How hard was that for you, just going from a number one, number two guy scoring wise in high school to more of a guy that's more looked upon to, dish the ball out and get assists?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with this or anybody that will be listening to the podcast, but going into my sophomore year, I was certainly the one or two guy. The one guy, he's now playing in the NBA Finals, Elijah Bryant, my teammate. He's a bench player for the Bucks. But me and him were kind of the 1-2 punch going into my sophomore year, and about 10 games in, I blow out my knee. I mean, everything, ripped it all apart. So coming back, I mean, the rehab, strenuous process. So I really wouldn't call myself a facilitator until about my junior year. That's when I picked up. I had to completely adapt my game because I couldn't jump as high anymore, or a big bulky brace on my right knee. And I mean, I just thought at that point, we had won some games by sophomore year. We got some good recruits in junior, senior year. Coach surrounded shooters around me. So, I mean, the better chance for us to win games, would it be me score 17 points or me dish out 5, 6, 7 assists a game? And we were rolling with the 5, 6, 7 assist a game. So whatever puts more points on the other team on the scoreboard, that's what I'm going to try to do.
That is a very veteran answer for this reason. I think that's the one idea or the one thought that loses people in the dust, especially young athletes, just because they think that once they get this injury, they're just like, oh, woe is me. But you're just like, okay, I'm going to use this to my advantage. And, obviously you understood that coach put shooters around you, put other playmakers around you as well to help your job a little bit easier, which is probably the best word of advice, that's just hidden under the sheets, so to speak. So at the I like that answer just because of that, but also a couple other reasons why that you had mentioned as well. But I want to talk about the day that you recorded your 200th assist. You did on November 17th against South Florida, non-conference day, early part of the 16-17 season, excuse me. Well, I gotta see if that's right. I think that might be the 15-16 season.
I would have had no clue when I recorded my 200th assist, so that's news to me.
16-17 season. I knew I had that right. It was your senior season. Was that a big moment for you, just dishing out your 200th career assist? Because that's a big honor just for people nowadays, it seems like.
I didn't even know. So that's news to me. But I do know we won that game, which is a big non-conference win heading down to Florida. For Elon. And I know my grandma was in the stands, but I had no clue that that was the time that I dished out my 200th assist. I know I have my 1,000-point ball from high school, but I never got a 200 assist ball from Elon or anything like that.
You should call them right now. You do know that, right? You just need,
yeah,
you need to pick up the phone and be like, yo, I'm that guy. I need that ball. I need it now, please.
Or some new gear. This polo is from my senior year. I haven't got anything new.
Whenever you first joined the Zoom call, I thought to myself, that's a sharp-looking shirt. But then you just said it was from your senior year. I'm like, that's still a sharp shirt, though.
Yeah, I mean, Under Armour has some nice stuff. So, but it is. I think it's a 2017, maybe 2018. So, I'm sure there's a gift box coming around here sooner or later.
The alumni care package, as some people like to call it.
We need it. Well, I need it.
Well, I think this is cool as well, just because you brought up the clothing aspect of it, but also on this podcast, I love talking about more of a student athlete or even a coach's pregame routine? I know some people like listening to music, some people like to read, stuff like that. But what was your go-to pregame ritual?
I like to get a nap in.
Okay.
So probably we'd have, well, our coach didn't let us leave the hotel, which is probably smart. But we'd have shoot around, say we had a 7:00 game, shoot around in the morning, come back, probably chill, maybe a little study hall. And then we'd have pregame meal exactly 4 hours before. And it's the same thing every single time. No matter if we were playing in Europe, Cancun, Colorado, Madison Square Garden, Florida, it didn't matter. Same meal every single time. Right after that meal, I'd hit the bed for about 45-minute nap. And then I'm up, getting my legs taped, getting stretched out, and we're hitting the gym. And the only really pregame routine I had is I like to go to the line and I like to make 5 foul shots in warm-ups. So that's the only thing.
Okay, I can live with that.
It didn't have to be 5 in a row. Didn't have to be swishes. I just needed to make 5.
Why 5?
No clue. I just like that number. 3 dribbles, WAP 5.
Okay, I'll approve of that. But let me ask you this then: were you a big music guy growing up, either in high school or in college?
Man, I get made fun of for my music choices all the time. I don't keep track of it. I still listen to 50 Cent.
That's not bad.
No, I mean, college, high school, if I could put anything on a pregame warm-up, it'd be 50 Cent. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you ever dress up as 50 Cent for high school? I mean, not for high school, for Halloween?
I didn't, but one time I was 2 Chainz.
Oh my goodness, that needs to be something that we need to find. that would be good comedy gold right there. But that's funny. So okay. So you mentioned 50 Cent. Who else did you listen to?
I honestly didn't listen to music that often. That's what killed me. Yeah, I'd be the type of dude that would just be clowning with the JV players in the locker room, or like messing with the managers, or talking to the assistant coaches before the game. No real music ever. I'm always late. Like I had a couple of people in my car a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "Yo, like listen to this song, like it's hit." And they're like, "It came out 2 years ago." I'm like, "Oh, all right." Like I mean, I know it's coming. Like I'm not going to be the first person to buy music. You can stamp that by my name.
That's literally me. That if you just like literally what you just said in a nutshell, that's me. I swear to you, that is, because what you just said about the whole car scenario. That's been like me and my friends and I before as well. But that's hilarious. So I asked you when we started the podcast about how would you best describe your time with GW. Now let's look at Elon from the big perspective that I like to call your tenure with the Phoenix. What was your favorite moment, or your favorite recollection during your collegiate experience?
It'd definitely be, I forget the name of the tournament, but over Thanksgiving, sophomore year, when I had like a 13 game stretch there where I was heating up. We went to Cancun for a Thanksgiving tournament, all exclusive hotel, just playing in the lobbies of, I think, the Hard Rock. I don't know, it was a casino hotel, just playing in the lobby there, just middle school bleachers, just full of elementary school kids from the area, just going crazy the entire time. Played 2 games, played Morgan State, North Florida, and actually I hit a game-winning shot against Morgan State, and down in Cancun over Thanksgiving, and I didn't have cell phone service down there is what I remember. And like I remember like trying to call my mom and dad. This is back then I didn't even have an iPhone yet. I should have, but I didn't. I had like some Android knockoff my sophomore year of college, sorry. But I had no way of getting in touch. And then the second we land in I think it was Atlanta. We landed back in Atlanta. My phone blew up, just all my high school friends. Like I remember Coach Green texted me, family members. they're all like, congratulations. Like I thought they did. I mean, I figured they knew because it came out in the papers, but like nobody reached out to me. It was just because I wasn't getting the text, and like it just felt good that all those people were like still supporting me. And then also I was succeeding. So that was the Cancun trip and all, and just going out of the country. And then another thing Elon did, which was great, is for 10 days, I actually was repairing for my ACL, so I didn't get to play in this. But they flew us overseas, and we got to play professional teams in Italy, Austria, and Germany, which is like a thing that a lot of Division I programs do. And just having that experience with your best friends that you're gonna have for life, traveling the world. Elon really opened it up that the world is a lot bigger than just West Virginia, even though West Virginia is a great place.
What was your favorite cuisine that you ate overseas?
I actually lived in Belfast, Northern Ireland for a year after school playing hoops as well. But my favorite cuisine would have to be this thing called a bap. It's literally just bread, sausage, and ketchup on a bun. And it was this local market right down the street, two pounds, almost every day. I'd go in there and I'd crush a bap. Sometimes if I was lucky, like they'd throw a little bit of bacon on it, but like, yeah, it tasted phenomenal. They don't spice up their food as much over there as but it is. Portions are smaller too.
I like that. That's funny. I like that a lot. Well, a few more questions and I'll get you out of here. But I want to first ask you this question. Let's go back to your prep days very briefly. And I've asked this to a couple of different guys on this podcast in recent weeks and months, for that matter. But looking back at your high school basketball career, you can include yourself in this talk as well. Give me a 5 of guys that you played against that you would just want to go to war with any day of the week.
War, as in like we're trying to
like basketball. You're trying to
say if we were going to war, I'd keep myself out. But all right. So basketball wise, I'd take me.
Okay.
Perry. Unfortunately, I never played with or against John in high school, so I don't think I can count them. But I'd take me, Perry, Chase Fisher. Who else would I take? Somebody's gonna get mad at me for leaving them out. I gotta think here for a second. Oh, I'd take Nate Adrian.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And Taekwon.
That's a solid 5 right there. I don't think anybody's scoring above 40 points in that game.
Exactly right. Nate and me, we've hooped together since about 9th grade AAUY. So he's one of my good buddies.
You're a very outgoing individual, it seems like. I mean, you mentioned how whenever you committed to Elon, everybody was just coming up to you. You and Taekwon, you and Ryan, now you and Nate, who's a Morgantown guy. I mean,
I think it's everybody's friends with my dad. That's where it starts. So everybody likes my dad and my mom. So I guess it runs in the family.
Well, our dads are good friends too, or at least they were whenever we played shy ball. So that doesn't really surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm. He sits as far away as he possibly can from my games, but somehow always has a huge circle. So he must be cracking some good jokes up there.
So since we brought up your dad, I love asking this about, just parents in general, but more especially with fathers, just because they play the biggest role in an individual's life, it seems like. But how much of a role did your dad have on your life growing up, especially just trying to get into basketball and just simply just learning the logistics of the sport?
You can't even put it on scale. Unbelievable. He gave me every opportunity. I wanted to be good at basketball. But I think the best thing he did was he let me do it. It wasn't, hey, Greg White's holding a camp this Saturday at UC, you're going. It's Greg White's holding the camp. I'm like, all right, Dad, can you sign me up? Things like that. Introduced me to Gay Elmore. They're good friends as well. So he surrounded me with people that that knew the game, that could coach the game, and just put me in front of great people that I can't say thankful. I could run off a list of names to take up this entire podcast of people that he introduced me to or put me in front of just to give me the opportunity to be, I guess, if you want to call myself a good, a great, an average, he just gave me the opportunity to take basketball as far as I possibly could.
So I got 2 more questions, and these probably will make you think, which is fine. But looking back at where you started to where you are now, what advice would you give a young student athlete wanting to pursue, one, just making a varsity team in high school, but then also after that step, making that leap in the college? What advice would you give for a young person?
Biggest advice I could give somebody would just be you got to believe in yourself first. And that can come one of 2 ways. You can be born with confidence, or you can put in the work to be confident in yourself. No one else is going to give you the confidence because they're not going to lie to you. And if they're lying to you, that's just not right. But if you put in the work ethic and you believe in yourself and you're coachable, that's usually when good things happen.
And then lastly, before we get into what you're doing now, but lastly, how would you best describe high school basketball, or even basketball in general, in the great state of West Virginia?
It sounds like it's growing. Every time I get on Twitter, I see a kid getting a Division I scholarship, and I'm just like, let's go. I could not be happier for these kids getting that opportunity, or even like my little brother getting an opportunity to get playing time at a Division II school in Glenville. I think it's great. I think there's just so many good people that I've grown up around, like starting with Coach Green. His name's slipping my mind right now, but the coach from St. Albans, heck of a guy. What is his name? I know TJ Douglas is the assistant.
Brian England,
yeah, great guy. I know Coach Osborne at UC, great guy. Just the people surrounding basketball in the state of West Virginia and then branching out. You have Darius Nichols, he's a Division I coach now. Adam Williams, he's coaching at the college level. Chris Long at Campbell. You got my boy James running the show at West Virginia Tech. I think just the knowledge is there and the good people that are there. And I think that's why you see all these kids being successful. I'm not going to go out there and say they're any better than what we were back in the day, but I think they're getting noticed more because like the success of John, success of Perrier, like things like that. These college coaches are like, where's that kid from? West Virginia? Oh, they can play. So it just runs back and they can play. That's the good thing about it. So as long as they keep on representing it well and they got good people running the show, I think West Virginia is in a successful spot. But I don't really know. The one thing is, I don't know what this 4A thing is. I saw George Washington's the 4A state champions. I was like, what does that mean? So that's the one thing I'm confused about. But hey, as long as George Washington's winning, I'm not going to be complaining.
We'll talk soon. I'll give you a scoop. I'll give you a rundown of the 4A system. But no. So lastly, just before I let you go, walk everybody through what's Luke Eddy doing nowadays.
All right. Well, nowadays, I'm living down in West Palm Beach, Florida. I don't play basketball that often, but I occasionally run a game or two at LA Fitness, and then when people start picking me up full court, I take off my shoes and get out of there. But I work for a company called Bessemer Trust. It's a high net worth finance wealth management firm on the island, and the weekends I spend most of my time at the beach, on the golf course, at the pool, enjoying Florida as much as I possibly can in my younger years.
Well, Luke, I appreciate your time. I know we talked about a lot of different things. Well, actually, one more. I got one more. I lied. I got one more.
Feed me.
You keep referring to your brother Gus. I've played with Gus. My brother played with Gus at Shy Ball. But what's it like just seeing your brother continuing to get better and better at the game of basketball each and every year now that he's playing at Glenville State?
I love it. I mean, just every time I see him, he's stronger. And he's working hard at it. I mean, my whole family, my sister was college soccer, college basketball for me, college soccer for my little sister, and now Gus. So my parents were 4 for 4, and just see Gus, how much he worked, especially later on in his high school career, and how he didn't get snipped out of a state championship, but he got one a sophomore year, but they were going to make his run a senior year. COVID stepped in, and just see that he gets to continue to play the game that he loved at Glenville, and I get to catch him on TV every now and then. It's a great feeling.
Well, again, Luke, I appreciate your time as always. It was great talking with you. One, just because, like I told you in the beginning, it was a great experience just watching you all play at George Washington, but also to just, it's good to just reconnect sometimes, especially with COVID going around. So I especially appreciate your time as always.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and best of luck with the podcast Zoom calls. And I'll grab a t-shirt too.
Okay, you send me your information. I'll get you one. I promise you that.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, as Luke said, we are still distributing t-shirts right now, $25 for a t-shirt. Like I said, if you would like a shirt, you can DM me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7, or you can find me on Facebook just simply looking up Taylor Kennedy and looking at it and finding this beautiful face, and boom, just add me as a friend. We'll get you going. We'll get you a shirt. Also, again, I'd like to stress we are on YouTube now and Apple Podcasts. Oh, wait, and Spotify. So subscribe and just keep the subs coming in from all of those, and we'll just keep running the numbers up high. I got a goal of 25 subscribers on my birthday, before my birthday, I should say, which is September 14th. So let's try and get 25 subscriptions on YouTube, and by then we'll meet the goal. Maybe there might be a little bit of a treat at the end if we're able to reach that. So do that, and I will catch you all next time on episode 55 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. A special thanks again to Luke Eddy, our guest. And like I said, I will catch you all next time in the next episode. Thank you all for listening, and stay safe.